Hello! In the previous tutorial we learned how to create classes, how to define properties and behaviors to the class, how to access properties of the class. In this tutorial we will learn how to initialize an object of a class. In the previous tutorial, have you noticed a compilation error in our code when accessed the fields and the methods of the class? Let's see the reason of that error. Look, when we typed x.attend classes, that's the reason. The local variable x may not have been initialized, and that's our topic in this tutorial, initialization of an object. Let's try again to say x.age equals 10 and type semicolon. Look again, the same reason, the local variable x may not have been initialized. So what will we do to initialize the variable x? Let's remember previously when we declare a variable of double or integer or any data type, and when we access this variable without assigning or initiating it, we get a compilation error. Let's say w and then let's say double z equals 1 plus u semicolon. As we see, the same reason, that's because the local variable u may not be initialized. But if we say u equals 8, here it compiles successfully, as the compiler noticed that variable u is initialized by some value. The same idea when we initialize a class, so we must say the variable of the class must be equal something, but equals what? Let's see, student s, let's say equals, and here type new as you do in the array. Let's type the keyword new, and after the keyword new type again the name of the class, which is student. Copy it, and after it open two parentheses and then semicolon. As you see, it compiled successfully, and in this line the variable s, which is of type student, is initialized. And now let's try to access its properties. Let's say s dot age equal 10. In the next line, let's say s dot first name, let's say equals Muhammad. S dot last name, let's say equal Salah. In the next line, let's say s dot grade equals 7 semicolon. And now let's print those properties in separate lines. So let's type system.out.println, and here copy this property s.age. In the next line, s.first name, the next line s.last name, and s.grade. So let's run the program and see the output of our program. Right click, run as Java application. As we noticed, here it printed the age value, which is 10, the first name value, which is Muhammad, the last name value Salah, the grade value 7. Okay, but let's try to debug this program, and let's start from that line. Debug as Java application, and let's switch to the debug perspective. Switch, Okay, let's start tracing it line by line. Look at here, we still have the string args, and now when we step over, as we see, we now have student variable and his name S. Let's open S. Look, we have age, name, first name, grade, last name, and as we see, age is initialized by 0, first name string is initialized by null, grade is also in, so it is initialized by 0, last name is initialized by null. We have to know that the object attributes of primitive data types have default values when initialized. So let's now trace our program. Let's step over this line. Look, the age value of the variable S became 10. Let's look also at the first name attribute. Let's step over it. As we see, the first name attribute is assigned by Muhammad. After this line, the last name is assigned by Salah. So let's see also the grade, which is by default 0. After stepping over this line, it became 7. And after that, we will print their values. As we see, let's stop our program. Okay, what if we say S without initializing it? As we see, the program is not compiling. That's because S is not initialized. Okay, but what if we initialize it by null? Let's save. As we see, it compiled successfully because the compiler noticed that we have initialized the variable S, and then the compiler has no problem when you access the attributes of this variable S. But will there be a problem when run? Let's run and see. As we noticed, it resulted null pointer exception, and that is because it is not able to assign a value to an attribute of a null variable. So every time you will do that, you will get output null pointer exception when you run your program. So let's initialize it again to get correct program output, as we see. And now let's do another practice. Let's reinitialize again the object, and let's print its attributes again. Let's run and see the result. Run as. Look, in the first 4 lines it printed the values assigned in this object, which was 10, Muhammad, Salah, 7. And after this line, what happened? S is reinitialized again by a new object. Here was an object, and in this line was another object. So you must know that this object is not as the same as this object. So its attributes are reinitialized again. Age is 0, first name is null, last name is null, grade is 0. What if we set S by null in this line? Let's run and see. As expected, it output null pointer exception, but in line 19, this line, not in those lines. That's because S after this line is assigned by null, and in this line we tried to access the attribute of this null variable, so it outputted at this line a null pointer exception, and the program exit and not continue executing the entire commands. Okay, let's remove those lines and mention a very important note. Look at this line. We say student S equal new student. As we know, S is a variable, but can we say that S is an object? The answer is no. S is not an object, but S is a reference to an object. Okay, so where is the object? The object is here. When we say new student, that is the object. And the variable S is a reference that referring to that object. Let's type in this line s.age equals 7. And in the next line, let's reinitialize S again by typing S equal new student, and after it let's say S.age equal 5. So equal. Look at this sample. Here we say S equal new student, so we created an object here, and S is referencing to an object. After that, age attribute of that object is assigned by 7. And then in this line, we created another object in the memory, and S is referenced to this new object. Let's debug that sample and see. Debug as Java application. Let's look here, step over. As we see, we have now S as an initialized object, and they take an ID, and that is the address value of it in the memory, not set well. And then let's step over this line, but let's observe age. Okay, it assigned age by 7. Now what will happen here when we step over this line? Let's see. As we notice, it changed the ID of the variable and changed the memory value in the memory, and that's because that is another object. Okay, in this tutorial we learned how to create and initialize objects and when null pointer exception is occurred. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.